Hello, Donald. It's your long-lost shoulder angel, and today I'm here to talk to you about climate change. Now, Donny, I know you're not much for detail or numbers or facts, so if you want a brief summary, the Trump's notes if you will, you can skip ahead toward the end of the video. Almost everything you've done as president, Donny, has been wrong, but your approach to climate change has been perhaps the wrongest, your bigliest mistake.
Global warming and that, a lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax.
The overwhelming consensus among scientists is that man-made climate change poses a dire threat to humanity and the world. History will view those who undermined action against climate change, like you, most Republicans in Congress, fossil fuel companies, the elitist plutocrats like the Koch brothers, and of course, Fox News,
AOC's Climate Change Con,
as among the biggest villains of the 21st century. Assuming humanity survives, the heroes will be climate scientists and activists, the James Hansons,
The science is clear.
Wangari Maathais,
The environmental services forests give us, nothing else can give us.
Greta Thunbergs,
People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing.
Al Gore's,
What were you thinking?
and, as much as it might further shrivel your sack to hear it, the AOCs of the world.
Science should not be partisan.
Donny, you have weakened fuel economy standards for vehicles, weakened regulations on fossil fuel energy suppliers and power plants, futilely tried to prop up the dying coal industry, undermined renewable energy, and most destructively withdrawn from the Paris Agreement, all at the behest of your buddies in the fossil fuel industry. These are the most egregious and unforgivable acts against humanity and the planet. Kellyanne Conway notwithstanding,
Alternative facts.
there is only one set of facts. Although, maybe she's right when it comes to quantum mechanics. I mean, how can electrons be in two places at the same time? That's fucked up. Anyway, the fact is that man-made climate change is real, and it's already having devastating effects on the planet.
Climate change has devastated this place. Now there's only one food in sight.
They are the country's global warming refugees.
Such heat waves are likely to become the new normal.
Okay, Donny, bear with me because I'm about to get into some of the numbers. For at least the last 800,000 years, yes, the Earth is older than 6,000 years, CO2 levels in the atmosphere have fluctuated between about 180 and 290 parts per million. Since the Industrial Revolution, mostly through burning fossil fuels, humans have raised CO2 concentrations in the atmosphere to over 400 parts per million. Why does that matter, you ask? Because CO2 is a greenhouse gas, which means it traps heat from the sun. When concentrations get too high, we fry. There are other greenhouse gases, like methane, nitrous oxide, chlorofluorocarbons. I will refer to these together as GHGs. Humans have already warmed the Earth by more than 1 degree Celsius over pre-industrial levels. This may not sound like much, but it is the reason for the increase in catastrophic events I mentioned earlier. The higher we get above 1 degree, the worse these events will get, possibly disrupting global food supply, causing widespread famine, mass migration, war, and accelerating the already high level of species extinction. This poses an existential threat to civilization and the planet as we know it. Sad. In 2015, the countries of the world came together to initiate a plan to combat climate change. The Paris Agreement. The goal of the agreement is to limit warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius this century and endeavor to keep it closer to 1.5 degrees. That's less than 0.5 degrees from where we are right now, Donny. In 2018, we had the highest GHG emissions ever at 55.3 gigatons. That's 22 trillion, 948 billion, 818,823,529.4 buckets of KFC chicken, Donny. To limit temps to 1.5 degrees, we need to get that down to 25 gigaton per year by 2030. So this is the key, Donny. We need to get from 55 gigatons in 2020 to 25 gigatons in 2030. That's 30 gigatons, or a reduction of 3 gigatons per year. Hey, stay with me, Donny. Stop thinking about KFC, focus on GHG. If we get our shit together now, 3 gigatons per year is eminently doable through advances in renewable energy, electric vehicles, efficient appliances, efficient buildings, better forestry practices, better agriculture. We can all talk about what we can do as individuals to combat climate change. Drive less, eat less meat, fly less, be better citizens of this planet. But ultimately, what we need is systemic change. We need policies, we need regulations, we need a carbon tax. Everything we can do to fight this global threat. The UN estimates that it would be feasible to meet this goal, much of it at modest cost. And isn't that what all the naysayers talk about, Donny? How much will it cost to save our planet? Wah, wah. It might be too expensive to, survive.
We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money.
In fact, the UN has determined that investments that combat climate change would have far more benefits than costs when it comes to things like poverty, hunger, health, education, energy, economic growth, jobs.
They took our jobs!
Infrastructure, inequality, and peace. It will cost far less to address this now than to address the mayhem that will ensue if we don't fight climate change now.
The cost of pursuing a Green New Deal will be far less than the cost of not passing it.
This is our Apollo project, Donny. Except instead of putting a man on the moon, we're keeping humans on Earth. Think about it. It's like that movie, Independence Day, where former enemies come together to fight against the aliens.
We will be united in our common interest.
Instead of fighting aliens, we're fighting against our basest tendencies. This is a planetary kumbaya. A moment in time where we can embrace our better angels and embark on a new journey for humanity. Come, embrace me, Donny. Okay, if your eyes were glazing over for all of that, here's a brief summary of the whole shebang. Climate change is real. Climate change is bad, very bad, worst ever. Climate change is human-made. Climate change is hurting people and the planet right now. Climate change could destroy people and the planet. Sad. We can avoid this if we make less bad gas. It is good for everybody when we invest in people and the planet. Donny will be a hero, greatest ever, if he helps save the planet. The future depends on what we do in the present. Hey, sit. Fuck you. Gigatons. Okay.